Hey everybody, it's Master Galageist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of Supernatural, Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell. And they're just doing a real good job of focusing the episodes in this back half of this season. And here's another great one with great character moments and great dialogue while still advancing what's going on. So, we get in and we see this couple out in the woods, kind of just having a weekend to themselves, and the boyfriend Marcus goes off to get some more firewood. So, as he's doing that, we see him talking up to himself to get to propose to his girlfriend because she's going away to college and all that and trying to figure out long distance relationships. And she's like messing around and finds the ring and everything. But before that can happen, he gets attacked by a hellhound. And things start going kind of bad because he gets like to camp back and he's like, get out of here, run, before getting kind of like taken down a little bit. And then the hellhound goes for the girlfriend and she like takes a hatchet and hacks at it and wounds it, but is still able to get away. And that's kind of where we're set up at the moment to begin the episode. It's like, okay, how's this going to work? So then we see a really good Sam and Dean moment while also doing a really effective Walking Dead reference. So they're coming in, it's like, wow, that was a back-to-back some weird stuff. I can tell why this dad loved this thing, and it's a barbed wire baseball bat, of course, referencing Lucille. Walking Dead, Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Negan, as also playing John Winchester, and just seeing how well done the reference was pretty good. And then he like puts that down, is like, Sam's like, aren't you gonna take a shower or whatnot? I mean, you've got Ghoul, Wraith on you, you even got like bits of Siren in your hair, and then like Dean's like messing with his hair, pulls it out, looks at it, and then just flicks it across the room. It's like, dude, you really need to take a shower. I mean, you've been wearing the same pair of boxers for 4 days. And he's like, one, it's weird that you know how much underwear I have. That's the weird part. Two, I've had 2 pair, doesn't count if you flip them inside out. It's like, oh, come on, Dean, no. Yes, that's something Dean would do, but no. And then it's just like, then Sam gets he plays it that he's got a computer algorithm that's getting them cases, but you see that they're titled Frodo, so this is the British Men of Letters, and I think it's funny that that's another connection between Sam and Mary, that they both have a love of Tolkien, and she calls them hobbits, and he calls Mick Frodo. And then they're like, okay, we got that, alright, I'll just use the fancy shampoo that you hide from me, and then goes off and gets all dressed up and everything, and they head out to investigate the Hellhound case, which they get there and like, okay, so we know it's a Hellhound. Sorry, your boyfriend probably made a deal with a demon, so it shouldn't be coming after you. And then it's like, no, we'll just lie, like a lot. And they start talking to her, and they're lying to her, pretty much saying that it was a bear attack and everything, because they'd even gotten to the crime scene, and even the sheriff was like, it's probably bear or cougar or whatnot, can't find the body or anything. And they'd been talking to Mary because, of course, she's like, okay, how's everything? We're doing good. Dean was talking to Cass and about his like case of trying to get to Kelly and all that, and how that was going. And that, of course, hadn't went anywhere. So they're still talking to Gwen, the girlfriend, and she's like, no, get out. Get out. I know what I saw. It was not a bear. Screw you guys. And, of course, while this is going on, we see this perspective from the Hellhound, who has come in from Sam and Dean coming into the house, and is just, like, being really kind of stealthy for a Hellhound. And, of course, they get out, and the Hellhound's, like, at a higher kind of level on the stairs, kind of looking at her, and then starts going after her through the house. And, of course, before it can start really ripping into her, Sam and Dean come in, and the Hellhound escapes and starts explaining to her, well, it was a Hellhound, only thing that can kill it, or like a demon blade or an angel blade. And explaining, of course, the concept, it's just an invisible dog from hell. Yeah, see, that was easier than I thought it was. And asking her if she'd made any deals or known anybody that made any deals, and she's like, no, I haven't. I hid it. That's about it. And then, of course, this gets Dean to calling Crowley, and we've a little bit earlier in the episode, we've been seeing little bits and pieces of Crowley pretty much lording over Lucifer, saying that he's 10 steps ahead of him and all that. And you're like, okay, I'm going to like peel off your skin and eat your soul when I'm out of here. So you go for that. So of course Crowley then has to deal with hell stuff, dealing with like all the crossroad deals and everything. And then he gets this call, and of course it comes on his phone, not Moose, which is just great how Crowley tries to differentiate between them. It's like, Moose, not Moose. And he's talking to him, he's like, screw you guys, you killed my son. And he's like, Crowley, Hellhound. What? Hellhound going on with nobody who made a deal? No, that doesn't make any sense. Has anything been going wrong? Ramsey, she's out. Alright, kill all the kennel guards and do it painfully. Alright, I'll be there. And then Batman's in and it's like, well, I got this, I'll help out. And they start kind of getting into it and explaining more about this Hellhound Ramsey. And he's like, well, it looks bad for business if a Hellhound is going around and killing people that have not made deals. And it would look pretty sweet to have her head mounted on my wall. And getting into kind of like the origin story of Hellhounds. Talking about how it began with like God creating the world, and then creating all different kinds of creatures. Wanted like a creator's best friend, but that the Hellhounds were too vicious. And he was going to put them down until Lucifer took the pregnant Ramsey, and that's how we get Hellhounds. And Ramsey only listens to Lucifer. And I'm like, oh, this could be interesting, because I thought it would be a little bit further, like, doing with the story or whatnot, kind of building more towards a Lucifer-centric story. But I still kind of like where they were going with it towards the end of it. So, while this is going on, we also get in on Cass and how he's going after Kelly. And he had went to the diner and was talking with the manager because he had like videotapes and thought it was aliens. And of course they're watching it and he's able to see the yellow eyes and everything. And this to the manager means reptilian alien. And he's like, okay. Cass takes the stuff and figures out, okay, Prince of Hell. And then of course he gets in contact with an angel who's also trying to find Kelly as well, and tries to get Cass on his side, saying that like a lot of the infighting has stopped at the moment because, well, a Nephilim, especially Lucifer's Nephilim, is something that will get all hands on deck, and that they want Castiel, with all of his experience and everything on Earth, to be on board with them. And that, yeah, he could come back into heaven, but that he's just a messenger of Joshua. And it's cool that they're bringing Joshua back into play with this, because we haven't had much out of him since, like, Sam and Dean had went to heaven and they had talked to him. He's usually the gardener. And having him in play really kind of changes up the makeup of heaven. Now, granted, there has been a lot of shake-up since, like, most of the archangels are either dead or, well, most of them are dead, except for Lucifer. And all the other ones that are trying to take the power of being the one up top there has usually ended up dead. Except Joshua, who's just kind of stayed in the background, probably waiting for a time to actively consolidate the angels, and we don't really know that much about him, and I'm glad to have that kind of put into it. And that, of course, kind of like gets to Castiel. He's like, okay, we'll kind of see where this goes. So, Sam and Dean create their plan. Sam would stick with Gwen, bring out the Holy Fire Made glasses, and so that way they could see the Hellhound and kill it. They'd ride around in the Impala. Of course, Dean's like, you take care of her. And Dean, oh, you mean the Impala? Yep. You ride the brakes. It's like, Dean, I know how to drive. And then they just go off, and Dean's walking around with Crowley and talking about how their relationships are. Like, maybe we're rubbing up on you. It's like, well, maybe I'm rubbing up on you because, hey, who would have thought that you'd be working with the King of Hell? Huh? And just like the way Crowley said it in his delivery, and then Dean's like, ugh, his like shiver of kind of disgust was just really kind of good and funny. And of course, they find the Hellhound's lair den, and of course Marcus's dead body. And then of course, Sam and Gwen had stopped and were kind of talking because Gwen was relating that she really didn't love Marcus as much as Marcus loved her, and was just kind of going along with it, and that she should have been truthful with him. And of course, this is another kind of on the nail thing for Sam that he's lying to Dean again, and I'm just glad that the lying wasn't drug out really that much, because after that, the Hellhound comes in, and we get a good fight scene with Sam kind of holding off Ramsey, and it hurts the Impala. I'm like, no, not the baby. And, of course, he has the glasses on for a little bit, but then they get flung off, and then we see a POV through the glasses, which I think is a pretty cool thing that they've been doing with experimenting, kind of similar with the baby episode where they had shot it from the perspective of the Impala. I like that they're taking those kind of risks and doing it in different kind of ways. So, yeah, we see that Sam he's got a good idea of where the Hellhound is, but we get to kind of see where it is, and it just adds the experience. So he's able to use the Angel Blade that they have and stab Ramsey in the chest, taking out Ramsey, and of course, we get everybody together. Dean's pissed off that, well, not pissed off, but depressed that the car is hurt. And, of course, Sam's like, what did you want me to do? It's like, it was this situation. It's like, yeah, I know, but it still hurts. And then we see that Gwen actually thanks Crowley. It's like, seeing like, and then like Batman out, and that was kind of cool. And she's like, he's not really that, he's kind of standoffish, isn't he? You're like, yeah. So that's kind of where we end that. While this was going on, we find out that Ramsey was let out as a distraction by the two lower tier demons that Crowley had reporting to him. And they used this opportunity to check and pretty much confirm their theory that Lucifer was in that cell that Crowley had been like spending most of his time in. So, of course, one of the demons is making all these lists of demands, and the other one's just like, I want you to make hell great again. It's like, okay, you do kind of understand how Lucifer kind of runs that stuff. So, they, of course, let Lucifer out. He puffs one of them, and he's like, hey, I'm just glad that you can devour my essence and everything. And he's like, dude, now you just had to make that weird. And puffs him out. So as Crowley puffs back to where his usual throne is, we see Lucifer there, and he punches Crowley out, and he's like, well, now I get to do it and have my fun, and starts like doing his power stuff. And then this is where Crowley does his snap, and we find out that Crowley has actually smartened up. And the actual cage is Lucifer's vessel. He has done runes and spell work, and from the cage all the way down to the molecule into that vessel. So he has control of Lucifer's power. And Lucifer can't do anything without his say-so. And that just enters a really interesting dynamic to having that kind of power under Crowley's control. Now, granted, he's still in revenge mode saying, you know what? We're going to find that Nephilim, and I'm going to destroy it right in front of you, and then we're still just getting started. And it's like, damn, that is why Crowley's the king of hell. Granted, we're still going to have to see the craftiness of Lucifer because, of course, he's not going to take this line down. And, of course, we got to get more snarky Mark Pellegrino doing such a good job as Lucifer. I'm just so glad that they brought him back. So that's kind of where we're at with Crowley at the moment. And, of course, we've seen Cass now talking to Dean, saying that he has kind of a lead on Kelly. She was in Idaho, but doesn't know where she's at the moment. And they're like, okay, did he sound weird to you on the phone? And to Sam, and he's like, no, not really. As we see that Cass was being taken to heaven in the playground area that they've got to the gate of heaven. So I don't know if this is just Cass. I think this is more Cass just feeling out to see what this play is by Joshua and by the other angels in heaven, to see maybe if Joshua isn't even the one behind it, if they're just trying to get Cass in a point that they could control him. Because we've seen throughout this growing process that Cass really does think of the Winchesters as his family, and they think of him as their family. And I don't think he would just drop that just to get into heaven. He has been burned too many times by people who have been trying to make heaven good and bring it back to in line to more of what God would want. But that's the thing. Each person who tries to do that eventually thinks of themselves as God, and that they are the end-all be-all and the authority. So we'll have to see where this plays out, and that's a pretty cool part. I mean, granted, they don heaven a lot, but Joshua could be a different kind of player. We don't know his endgame, and that's always cool to look into. So we get to the end and we see that Sam finally comes clean with Dean. It's almost like a record of like how short of a lie it's been. He hasn't been lying that long to Dean about this, and he comes clean, says that Frodo's Mick. This is how he's been getting all of it. And Dean takes it surprisingly well. He doesn't like them, he doesn't trust them, but you make sense. We've got the Alpha dead, we killed a lot of vampires, we've been hitting a lot of monsters more effectively lately. Okay, let's do this. The second that something goes wrong, we hit him. I'm not taking that stuff. I was like, yeah, that's all that needs to be done. And I'm like, yes, this is effective growth for the Winchesters, for Sam and Dean. I mean, granted, the line and all that's part of their dynamic, but it's cool to see their dynamic evolve over time and change. And, of course, figuring out and knowing the situation that they're in and making plans to be prepared for usually the worst case scenario. So I'm really kind of excited to see where all these different threads are going to be going and how effectively they're going to be tied together, because so far it's been working very well this last half of the season, and I can't wait to see where they end it for the season finale. So those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.